Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you hear me well. I've been introduced as economist, but there is one differentiating factor between the traditional economist and myself. I am behavioral economist, and the major difference that behavioral economist thinks that people do make smart decisions, but they also make a lot of stupid decisions as well. We do believe that people make rational decisions, but we think they make and act irrational a lot of times. So naturally, the field of behavioral economics is a fusion between psychology and economics. When thinking about this breaking the mold, I thought my psychology background may be a little bit of help in this case to help you to identify your journey, where it starts from. And when thinking about this, the first thing that came to my mind that every single journey of this life starts with understanding who you are, or what we call in psychology, self-awareness. After self-awareness, the second stage of your development will be a self-acceptance, and after the self-acceptance, you go into the self-love. And once you understand what is love, when you can feel it towards yourself, you can build a healthy relationship. And a healthy relationship is what a happy, meaningful, wholesome life is about. But this is a long journey. We will start today with a self-awareness. I tried to put everything into 3 boxes. This is a 10 years of experience in 12 minutes of time. And the concept of 3 boxes is my personal concept that I've particularly thought for this TEDx event, so there is no such a methodology as such, but what I hope that at the end, once you hear about them, you would not be self-aware, you wouldn't love yourself or anything like that. What I hope to achieve here is for you to trigger the commencement of that self-awareness journey. For the first part, for the first box that we need to unbox, I would like your help a little bit. You can see here a QR code, or alternatively, you can go to menti.com and enter the passcode 2172455. I would like to make probably the largest group coaching session held in Azerbaijan so far. I would need your opinion to unbox the first box that we all have. The question would be, what I want to ask you about the question, answer the first things that comes to your mind. Don't overthink this. Once you hear the question, the first thing that comes to your mind, you respond, okay? And the question is who you are. Who you are. Just one simple question. The first thing that comes to your mind, tell me. Amigo, teacher, mom, Liana, human, Nihat. Nice to meet you, Nihat. Okay. So typically, there are 3 levels of answers to this question when you come to self-awareness. The first level of self-awareness is when you just state simple facts. I'm a human being, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I am Azerbaijani, for example. This is the first level of self-awareness. There is a long journey awaiting you. The second level of self-awareness, and when we associate ourselves with the roles that we have. Okay? I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, I'm a boss, I'm a leader. Okay? Remember, roles are not your true identity. Roles, for example, for the first time I've been asked this question, the answer was I'm a father. And what my coach told me, the father is one role that you play with your kids. But also, you're a leader at your organization, you're a friend with your friend, you're a colleague with your colleagues, you are a husband to your wife. Once you associate yourself with just one role, this role becomes playing a dominant role. Okay? And that was very true. I was father even to my mother. I was striving to give her advices, and I was trying to change her mind, which is very difficult with the mothers, you know them. I was father at my workplace. I was trying to be a paternal leader. I was trying to help sort even the personal issues of the people that were around me, which generally as a leader, I can only coach. I should not be solving personal problems of everybody in my organization. And the same thing happened in all other roles that I have been having. The true role That's the most difficult question that took me 2 years to find out. Who am I? And the trick that I'm going to give you that will help you to find your way is to try to find the gift that you have. Every single human being has a gift. And the gift is different from talent. Talent you use for your own benefit. Gift is something that you give to other people without expecting anything in return. Okay, that's a gift, and that's what you need to find. Because within that gift, your true identity lies. You need to understand what is that you will give to people wholeheartedly without expecting them anything in return, and that is who you are. And that will take maybe a couple of years for you to understand. For me, I came understood that my gift to others, I love see people growing and achieving their maximum potential. Wherever I was, starting from the early ages I started to work, I've always been helping people to achieve their maximum potential. And I was never expecting them to stay with me, to be my friend, to love me, to dislike me, whatever it is. Okay, and from there I came to understanding of who am I. Okay, that's the first box. That's a psychological box that's within your hand to manage. The second box is more difficult. It's physiological box. And everything linked to the brain. Okay? Brain is a wonderful organ of our body. It weighs only 1-2 kilos, but consumes 20% of our energy. For you to understand how brain functions and why we're seeing irrationality in modern time, you need to understand the brain consists of 3 parts. First is reptiloid brain. For those who believe in evolution theory, this is coming from dinosaurs. This is the oldest part of our brain, which is responsible for reflexes. You touch something, it is hot, you immediately take your hand. This is reflex. You don't think, you don't overthink, you don't analyze why you're taking off your finger. Or fight or flight. You're in a risky situation, you go into the fight or you run away. That's your brain. Reptiloid brain makes a decision on that. The second oldest part of our brain is what we call a limbic system. Limbic system is responsible for emotions. Okay? Hatred, amygdala hijack, and all of this coming from emotions. And only the third part of our brain that separates Homo sapiens or us humans from all other beings in the world is our neocortex, the largest part of our brain that is responsible for the reason. Okay? There is a problem with neocortex. It is the youngest part of our brain. That is why it is not very much respected by limbic system or reptiloid brain. Limbic system always overtakes the neocortex. Whenever you're emotional, you're angry, you start shouting at your kid instead of asking yourself a question, why my kid is not behaving well? There's always a fight between a reason and emotion because the emotional limbic system is much more developed. It has been with us for a very long time. But still, because we're behavioral economists, we ask the question why? Why neocortex, despite being a larger part of the brain, cannot compete against the limbic system? And the reason is very simple. Our brain is very lazy. Okay? For the 200,000 years of evolution of the humankind, only the last 50 to 100 years we have been living in the valley of plenty, when we had enough food to eat 3 times a day. In majority of the period of this, except the last 100 years, we're always striving for the food. There was always a food shortage. And because our brain uses largest portion of the energy of our body, it always wants to hibernate. It always wants to go to the standby mode. It don't want to think, it don't want to work. Okay? And this is the reason why many times, what Daniel Kahneman says, we go into system 1, we go to automatic decision. Brain don't want to think. And that's the reason why limbic system, which is more experienced, doesn't require a lot of things. It overtakes our neocortex. For example, we know that people, we're procrastinating, we want to enjoy life, we don't want to work hard. And our brain is specifically wired to procrastinate. Our brain actually wired not to be tolerant to the people who don't look like us. Because in 200,000 years of evolution, we never had enough energy to do that. In 200,000 years of evolution, people that didn't look like us actually usually came to rob us or to kill us. It's only after the last 100, 200 years of free market economics and capitalistic structure and living in the valley of plenty that made us what we are now. More tolerant, trying to think more. And it requires an effort at this stage to rewire your brain from 200,000 years evolutions to a modern life. Your brain is not wired for the success. It wants to lay down on the sofa and watch and get cheap dopamine from the social media. If you continue doing that, you will be a caveman. But if you stop this, you understand that this is not 200,000 years ago. Life has changed now. You need to stop and think and act on that one. And this is very easy when you're young, and it is becoming more difficult when you reach age of 30. Because to the age of 30, your brain is not very much developed. You don't have a lot of experiences. You don't have what we call neural links in your mind that you can use. Once a brain goes through experience, it creates a pathway, neural pathway in your brain. So whenever a similar situation happens in the future, your brain don't want to think too much. It takes that pathway and gives you the solution. By the age of 30, when you reach that, we call it in psychology, the immunity to change has been created. You don't want to make a new neural pathways because your brain thinks this is not efficient, waste of resources. You had this experience, just use it and go forward. And this is a very difficult stage. This is when you come to authoritative mindset. This is when you don't want to change. That's why people under 20, who are a lot of here, they're very keen to learning, and the people after 30, they are not keen to learn. They just want to use their experience. And there's one trick. I promise you to give us small, simple tricks to overcome this. Once you reach your immunity to change, the only way to transform to what we call self-transition, self-transforming mindset, is to ask only one question when something happens. What else can I do? Okay? Don't jump into what you did in the past. Stop and think. And this works every time when you need a reason. Stop and think. What else can I do? Okay? That is how you're not becoming a caveman, but you are becoming a progressive, success-wired person in this planet, in these times. And this brings me to the third box. Third box is actually societal norms and traditions that are putting us into some framework. You are born in a Muslim country, sitting here in Azerbaijan. Some of you are foreigners who are not born in Azerbaijan with its own traditions. And it is very, very nuanced moment. There's a tradition that comes from experience, and there is tradition that just is a tradition, like Arabic tradition, Western tradition, Azerbaijani tradition, Chinese tradition. And there are traditions that are coming from the very good experience. Nassim Taleb, in his book, Anti-Fragile, he makes a recommendation. Sometimes it is better to listen to your grandmother in an investment decision than to a Wall Street banker on the investment decision, because your grandmother, who is advising you to invest in gold or real estate, in many cases, she will be much more correct in long term than a banker. And why he says that? He says that something that has passed through the stress of time has been more anti-fragile. Anti-fragile means that from the stress, it doesn't break, it only becomes stronger. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Okay? From that perspective, the traditions that come from the wiseness and experience of the people who lived before you, this is actually the progress for the future. What's the purpose of giving a birth to the kids? Is to pass the knowledge of the previous time to the next generations. They take it from there and goes. And this is very important. We're living in the era of a lot of new ideas, okay? We can start same-sex marriages, men and women roles. We can talk about feminism and anti-feministic movements, masculinity and feminism. A lot of new ideas that are being generated in the past 50 years that has never been discussed before. And when it comes to the time stress, only time will show them which ideas will remain in force and which ideas is actually an evolution in the humankind thinking. With this in mind, I would like to summarize this. So first box, remember, it's who am I, your identity, self-awareness. Your second box is how you manage your brain. If you continue to act like a caveman, being lazy, not wiring your brain for success, you're gonna live the life of the caveman. Stop, think, ask yourself, what is else? And the third is tradition. And when it comes to tradition, always ask the question, why is that happening? Is it tradition for the sake of tradition that has absolutely no meaning? Or there is a huge experience of the ages and previous generations standing behind that idea and tradition? If that is it, consider it, okay? And make sure that your future is not reflected, is not affected by the new ideas that hasn't been around for a long time, didn't pass the time of stress. Thank you very much.